On Flight 216 from New York to London, the first-class cabin gleamed with luxury. Passengers sipped champagne, enjoyed gourmet meals, and reclined in comfort, surrounded by state-of-the-art amenities. Among them was Nathaniel Clark, a distinguished black man in his late 40s. As the founder and CEO of Clark Innovations, Nathaniel often flew first class for the peace it afforded him to work uninterrupted. This flight was no different. He was engrossed in emails on his sleek laptop, attempting to get ahead on pressing deadlines. As dinner trays were being cleared, Nathaniel finished his three-course meal, placed his utensils neatly on the tray, and resumed typing. The atmosphere around him was serene until Eleanor Carter, a senior flight attendant known for her meticulous nature but often rigid demeanor, began collecting the trays. Her gaze lingered on Nathaniel's empty tray for a beat longer than necessary, her smile tightening. "Excuse me, sir." Eleanor began in a sugary tone laced with suspicion. "Where is your fork?" Nathaniel looked up, surprised. "I believe it was on the tray when I finished." Eleanor's expression hardened. "It's not here now." Nathaniel frowned. "Perhaps it was cleared with the plate?" Eleanor's tone grew sharper. "We don't misplace first-class silverware. Are you sure you didn't accidentally keep it?" Her words were laden with accusation. Nathaniel straightened in his seat, his voice calm but firm. "Why would I take a fork?" Nearby passengers began to take notice, their conversations fading as they turned to observe the unfolding scene. Eleanor crossed her arms. "First-class utensils don't simply disappear, Mr. Clark." The insinuation hung in the air. Nathaniel clenched his fists beneath the table, his chest tightening as memories of past injustices surfaced. He'd faced these moments before, accusations rooted in prejudice, assumptions made without evidence. Eleanor stepped forward, her tone condescending. "I'll need to inspect your seating area." Without waiting for permission, she began lifting Nathaniel's blanket, patting down the seat cushion, and rifling through his carry-on bag. "Stop," Nathaniel said firmly, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the other passengers. "You have no right to search my belongings." Eleanor's thin smile didn't falter. "Sir, we can't afford to lose first-class utensils." The tension in the cabin grew palpable. An elderly man in a business suit shook his head disapprovingly, while a younger woman a few rows back discreetly started recording on her phone. Nathaniel took a steady breath. "I told you, I didn't take anything." Eleanor's eyes gleamed with self-righteous determination as she reached for her intercom. "This is Flight Attendant Eleanor Carter," she announced, ensuring the nearby passengers could hear. "We may have a security concern in first class." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Are you seriously calling this a security issue?" Eleanor's faint smile remained. "We take theft very seriously on this airline." The weight of her words settled over Nathaniel. Theft. She had already judged him guilty. He could feel the eyes of the other passengers on him, some filled with doubt, others with silent support. Years of navigating these situations had taught him to stay calm, not to react, not to make a scene. But this time, something shifted inside him. "Not today. Call the captain," he said, his voice low but commanding. Eleanor blinked, caught off guard. "Excuse me?" "Call the captain," Nathaniel repeated, his tone unwavering. "Now." Passengers exchanged glances, sensing the shift in the air. Reluctantly, Eleanor picked up the intercom again. "Captain Miller, we have a situation in first class." Moments later, Captain Henry Miller entered the cabin, his authoritative presence silencing the murmurs. He surveyed the scene, noting Nathaniel's composed demeanor and Eleanor's defensive posture. "What seems to be the problem here?" Captain Miller asked evenly. Eleanor launched into her explanation, detailing the missing fork and her necessary actions. Nathaniel met the captain's gaze directly, his voice steady. "She searched my seat without permission and accused me of theft," he said. "Over a fork." Captain Miller frowned. "You called me here over a fork?" Before Eleanor could respond, a soft voice interrupted. "Excuse me." An elderly woman seated across the aisle slowly stood, pointing to the floor beneath Nathaniel's seat. "I saw the fork fall when he adjusted his laptop earlier. It's right there." The cabin fell silent. All eyes turned to the gleaming silver fork, half hidden under the seat. Captain Miller bent down, picked it up, and straightened with a stern expression. "Is this what caused all this trouble?" he asked, his tone icy. Eleanor's face flushed. I was just following protocol," she stammered. "Protocol?" Captain Miller's voice sharpened. "Protocol means treating our passengers with respect, not making baseless accusations. This is unacceptable." Passengers murmured their agreement. Some nodded. Others continued recording on their phones. Captain Miller turned to Nathaniel, his voice sincere. "Mr. Clark, on behalf of the airline, I deeply apologize for this incident. We will address it formally upon landing." Nathaniel nodded. "Thank you, Captain." Captain Miller's gaze flicked back to Eleanor. "We will have a discussion about your future with this airline." Eleanor's shoulders slumped as she hurried down the aisle, her face burning with shame. A few passengers clapped quietly, offering Nathaniel supportive nods. Back in his seat, he exhaled slowly, the humiliation still fresh but tempered by the knowledge that he had stood his ground. As the flight continued, several passengers stopped by to offer quiet words of support. Nathaniel accepted their gestures with a polite nod but kept his focus forward. By the time the plane landed in London, Eleanor's career was on the brink, and Nathaniel's dignity remained intact, a testament to his resilience. ####, a call for reflection. Prejudice, no matter where it surfaces, has a way of exposing our deepest flaws and vulnerabilities. Nathaniel's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against injustice and refusing to be defined by the biases of others. If you've ever faced or witnessed a similar situation, we'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories that challenge prejudice and inspire change. ###, the aftermath and lessons learned. After the plane landed in London, Nathaniel was greeted by airline representatives who personally escorted him to the airline's VIP lounge. Apologies were issued again, this time in the form of a written statement from the airline's leadership team. Nathaniel was offered complimentary upgrades on all future flights and an assurance that the incident would be thoroughly investigated. While Nathaniel appreciated the gestures, his focus wasn't on compensation, it was on accountability. He made it clear to the airline representatives that this wasn't just about him. It was about ensuring no other passenger would face similar treatment. "You can't buy back dignity," he said calmly but firmly. "Change begins with acknowledgement and action." The airline's management took Nathaniel's words to heart. They initiated an internal review of their policies, particularly those involving passenger interactions and bias training. Eleanor Carter, the flight attendant, was suspended pending a formal inquiry. In the weeks that followed, the airline announced new mandatory training programs for their staff, focusing on unconscious bias and cultural sensitivity. For Nathaniel, the incident became a catalyst for deeper reflection. As someone who had built his career overcoming obstacles and breaking barriers, he decided to use this experience to advocate for broader systemic change. He penned an op-ed for a leading publication, recounting the events of that flight and calling for greater accountability across industries. "Moments like these reveal the work still to be done," he wrote, "but they also remind us of the power of resilience and the importance of holding systems accountable. Change is possible, but only if we demand it." The article went viral, sparking widespread conversation about bias in customer service and corporate environments. Messages of support poured in from around the world. People shared their own stories of prejudice and resilience, turning Nathaniel's experience into a movement for awareness and reform. Meanwhile, Eleanor faced the consequences of her actions. While she initially resisted the airline's decision, citing her years of service, she ultimately chose to resign. In a rare public statement, she admitted her wrongdoing. "I let my biases cloud my judgment," she wrote. "I am truly sorry for the hurt I caused Mr. Clark and for betraying the trust of the passengers I was supposed to serve." Nathaniel's story became a powerful example of how individuals can inspire systemic change through courage and determination. It wasn't just about a missing fork. It was about addressing the deeper issues of prejudice and inequality that persist in society. His unwavering resolve not only restored his dignity but also sparked meaningful conversations and actions that extended far beyond the confines of that airplane cabin. Hashtag a message of hope. As Nathaniel reflected on the events, he was reminded of the importance of community and solidarity. The passengers who had supported him, the strangers who reached out after reading his story, and the airline's willingness to enact change. All of these were reminders that while prejudice exists, so does the capacity for growth and understanding. He concluded his op-ed with a simple but powerful message: change begins with each of us. Speak up, stand firm, and believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow. Nathaniel's journey continues to inspire. His story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the impact one person can have when they refuse to stay silent in the face of injustice.